Hi, she's Trixie and I'm Sarah, and this is our Yarn World, a place where we come to share the love of yarn crafts and all that it gives us and all that we hope it gives you. We're coming with actually more than just yarn crafts today. On episode 75, we have some things that were given to us again for the channel, and some updates on some projects that we have been working on. So we hope that you guys are ready to enjoy some company.
Yeah.
As we're just getting ready to do this.
And hopefully you've got either your yarn crafts or your crafts that you enjoy that you're doing along with us. So I have been working on a blanket for the last couple of weeks. I'm not done yet, but I want to share it with you. I am doing it with mandalas and a background color. And the mandalas are pretty earthy tones. So,
I got it.
So, yeah, I'm doing half double crochet with two yarns with a 5mm hook, and yeah, it's just pretty earthy. I really enjoy this combination of colors that I've been working with, and every time a color changes, I'm just like, yes, that color is even prettier than the last one, and that color is even prettier than the last one, and so I've been really enjoying this, and it's making a very fine material. Using the 5mm hook with two yarns, as prior times I always used a 10mm hook, so it was a bigger
Stitch.
Bigger stitch, and it worked up a lot faster. And most of my blankets are 100 stitches across, and this one is 200. So it's taking double the time because I've got 200 stitches and I'm using a smaller hook.
You're much more invested into this one than normally you are.
I am, and it's turning out so nicely, and I'm so happy with the result of it.
Do you think you're going to keep this one?
I do think that it's going to stay in the house. My first initial thought was to give it to my son, but I was working on it in front of him one day, and he didn't even seem impressed. It was like, oh, okay, you know. But he's used to seeing me working on stuff. And the day that I was working on it, I did ask him about his color blindness. I do not have color blindness, so I don't know what he can see.
And there are different forms of color blindness.
Yeah. And I know that red and green are problems for him. But some other colors he can see tones and stuff like that. So he was able to name off some colors by the tones that he thought they were. And so I'm just like, well, maybe this blanket won't be for him.
Because it might bleed too much, you might not even be able to appreciate it.
Yeah. I had made him one when I first started out way long ago, and it was Pink Floyd
inspired,
Dark Side of the Moon
inspired,
the rainbow prism scene, and he really liked that one. But you know, it's brilliant color against black, and maybe he was able to see some of those.
And he also appreciated what you did because that was one of his favorite albums.
Yeah. So, and that was when Sarah was first teaching me how, and I could do...
so stubborn. You refused to do any other stitch but
single crochet. So
it
took forever. And it was just straight lines. That's what I kept telling her. I can do straight lines. I'm not going to even try and do anything else. So
I was just like, oh my god.
I have branched out considerably since then.
Yes.
So, what do you have to share?
Well, last week I talked to you guys about the fact that I got that kit, the Perler bead kit, Perler, P-E-R-L-E-R. And I have done some of the suggested designs based off of the kit. And it was a Mario themed kit.
Yeah.
So I have like Locky 2. Like I said, these beads create a solid after you iron them, but like here's Locky 2 on his cloud. I got a Koopa. Ba-bomb. A Goomba. And a Mario that just died. I do believe one more? There might be 7 patterns. I want to say I have a full-size Mario. And maybe I have a mushroom left to do. But I am really enjoying these, and I have shown them to some of my friends who says that they really like them, which indicates that some of my ideas about the fact that I could make these into some sort of fandom, like related, like, hey, we could make these coasters, we could make these ornaments, we could make these magnets and make them in kits or just different designs, might actually weigh out and becoming something that I might be able to profit off of.
Yeah.
But no matter what, this really is just quite satisfying of a craft. You know, because like last week I was telling you guys, like, the longevity of the choices of just doing one bead at a time might have become monotonous to me, so I wasn't sure whether this was going to be a craft that like clicked and resonated with me. It does. I'm very grateful that I was able to see if it did. I'm sitting down and I'm just doing it. Like, I'm able to hold it, or I can put it on a tray. I didn't bring it, but the squares with the little
the pegs.
The pegs, yeah, the pegboard.
Yeah.
There we go. That you just put the beads on with the pattern in the back of it, and it's just like, I got so good I was doing it like pretty considerably, passing over the beads and making it on the right pegs, and just like, it just was so relaxing because I just could curl up and just take my beads and just put it on the pegs, see it, and then be able to iron them together. I know from your point of view, it really resonates well with the camera, but just as an example, obviously if I bring it up closer, you can see that these beads are not like fully melted closed. You can still see the holes where they were placed on the pegs. I chose to keep it this way just because I thought it gave a little bit of a unique appeal to what it is as a craft, and just the fact that this is supposed to be pixel art. But this was my first one that I did, and I made some mistakes on it. Obviously, that's okay. But my husband really likes the Locky 2 character from Mario, and so he was very intrigued for me to get this one done first. If I turn it to the back, you can see that I held the iron on longer for some portions of it, and it closed up the holes. And so, by choice, I have seen people that I was looking at on Pinterest that were just like, yeah, you can close it all the way up more or less, or you can keep them rather open, just get them to melt. But it is an adjustment. I don't think you're going to be able to see it. I have some ridges here. It is an adjustment to making sure that you're not being too impatient, while making sure that if your desired look is to have the holes of the beads, to not have it on too long. It's a very fine line worth of like kind of circling around the pegs while also making sure that they stay in place, while also making sure that nothing moves, because with this one that it was really hard. And again, being my first one, it was bound to be, but like, if you're in person, you can tell that one side is much more leaned over. You can tell that it has ridges because I didn't melt it evenly. You can tell where the iron was just sitting there on the plastic. It's warped, and I'm not angry. Like, I think it's still good.
Well,
and
there's a learning curve.
Right, and I can appreciate what it taught me. But I remember pulling up on it too early and was lifting the paper, and on some of the beads in the middle of the just going
Oh,
and
no.
having to like really quickly try to get them back in this place and snap back in. And now that the beads are already shrunken, you can't put them back on the pegboard.
Oh, no.
So trying to force them to go back in there while it's still hot before it cooled down to try to get them to lay down evenly and hold onto the mat, realizing that you could burn it or could melt it too much. It was, like I said, something to learn. I did not choose to look at up a tutorial on YouTube. I just wanted to figure it out, and that's kind of what this kit was about. And obviously I definitely did figure it out. Again, still trying to figure out how I want to play it, because even with the Koopa, you can see that the cream colored beads melted pretty well. Closed almost, whereas the rest of it is open. I don't know. I think that the reality is that with this craft, you can't guarantee that it's just not going to close on some of them, especially near the end of them. Like, around the project, it's going to be harder to like fully close the middle ones than it is going to be the outer ones, just because of how much more exposed to the heat that they get.
I would say that if you were going to make them into ornaments or keychains, to put something into one of those holes before you start doing it, in case it did that. Or if you wanted to make sure that it was a solid piece, to make sure that the keychain or the ornament holder was already in place before you did it.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying. I know that there's ways to be able to still poke the holes through. Like being able to still manipulate it while it's still hot to get it to open back up.
Yeah.
You just really need the beads to melt together.
Yeah.
Again, seeing people on even Etsy and how they sell some of their Perler crafts, it's uneven for them too. So I imagine that once you just get good at it, you're either going to have it where it's much more consistent across the board as to how the holes are, or whether you're choosing to deliberately make it one solid color or one solid piece. You get better at it, but it's still fun. I think it still has the uniqueness of the craft is still evident, and no matter how the project necessarily turns out with the beads and where they end up stopping in their curing process.
Yeah.
But I think that I really do just like how these turn out. I think they're so cool. And like I said, they become like a rather hard plastic.
Yeah.
And like this one, it wasn't melted too good, so I can tell that it's kind of flimsy in its hold. But like this one, where like I really did it.
Yeah, you can't even hardly move it.
Yeah, and like they're pretty flat on ones that you did correctly, so it's like you could really make these into some sort of a coaster or whatever. So, and with ones like these that weren't fully well done, like I can go back over them and melt them. Like the wax paper, just,
that's what I was going to ask you.
Yeah, it's not like you have to stop. You just, it's the amount of how much you want them to hold on.
Yeah.
So
that's so neat.
I'm really excited. I'm going to possibly be looking at a couple of other kits this weekend and kind of just chilling. My husband has to go to see his dad for the weekend, and
in Florida,
and he's going to be actually showing off some of the projects that I finished for his dad that he doesn't know about, like the Santa Advent calendar pillow, and like I don't know if I got all the Easter eggs he would have wanted to have done, but I figured that we would give him what is done, and then he could tell me if he wanted more.
Yeah, there you
for
go.
his birthday, because he's kind of, we didn't realize, James isn't really good with remembering dates, unlike my brother, and we scheduled for James to go see his dad over the weekend that it's his dad's birthday without even realizing it.
Oh, okay.
So,
well, that kind of works out for James.
Yeah, so these projects kind of come to him as not only a, hey, we recognize that this didn't work out last year when it came to fulfilling these projects that I did fulfill, but the packaging didn't get down there, on top of just being like, hey, I do remember that you wanted to get some of these orders completed and you haven't really asked about it, but I want to still get this done, and it'll just, be fun to give it to him. So yeah, that's what I'm working on. I am currently working on James's mom's blanket order, which is the mitered.
The mitered corner.
Yeah, the knitted mitered corner blanket actively. I'm hoping to get it done either before or just, around her birthday. Oh goodness, I apologize. So that's what I'm working on just off of these. After I'm done with the blanket, I will be really bustling to get the Godzilla done.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And my next project is going to be a mosaic crochet blanket,
Which is
and
an endeavor.
It's very, very neat how it's done, and I've done them before, and I apologize if you hear any noises in the background. It's my husband with the duct tape, or not the packing tape gun, packing some packages to get to the post office. Anyway, these mosaics, I've been looking on Pinterest, sorry, but if you want to know what I've been looking at, that's it. The patterns for the mosaics and trying to get them on to, what's the paper?
Grid paper.
The grid paper.
I've been doing that too.
Yes.
With the pegging.
Yeah.
It's all in aspects of squares.
Yeah. So the grid paper is all marked off for you, and you can sit there and make all these patterns on it, and then because it's done in such a way, you can mark your numbers on one side of it and your colors on the other side of it, and have a piece of paper going. You go from bottom to top and only work from the right, and you can have a piece of paper covering each row that you just finished.
As you're accomplishing.
Yes.
So you know where you are.
So you know where you are, and you don't get mixed up and everything. And I've been watching it on YouTube and finding patterns on Pinterest, and I'm just very, very interested in it. And it's something that I do. I love crocheting, I love making blankets, and it all falls into place for me. But so my cousin Phyllis was over again yesterday visiting with me, and she brought some more goodies for us. The pack of knitting needles from Boy, and she wanted me to give these to Sarah. And so we've got those, and she also, I told her before she left, I said, I'm going to be trying some mosaic blankets. So she went home and started looking stuff up on YouTube, and sent me a pattern this morning for a pot holder for a crochet, and then she sent me another one on text for a knitted mosaic that I'm supposed to send to you.
Oh.
So I'm going to do that after this video's over. And so, she's just so involved with our channel, and now she's going through her stuff and handing us off her old knitting and crochet things, which I do have some crochet hooks. I wanted to show you how she packaged them, though.
She repurposed.
Yes, and repurposing is something I'm really into. And she had some Faber-Castell drawing leads in a plastic tube, a nice plastic tube here with a metal top. And let's see, so it's Faber-Castell 2H leads that were used to be in here, and it has a lid, a metal lid. What she put in here was the small,
Like doily crochet hooks.
yeah, the very, very tiny heads on these crochet hooks. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. They're so tiny that they fit in this tube. And what a way to present,
And
And-
keep track of.
yeah, and just, it's so handy. But I'm going to present these also to you because you make the doilies.
Thank you, Phyllis.
Yes, thank you, Phyllis, for this and for visiting with me and talking with me. And I just love our visits. And I'm so grateful that you think of us when you're going through your crafty stuff.
Yes. And
So-
these will be well used and
Yeah.
well loved.
Yeah. And we'll show you when we're making our stuff. That's what this channel is all about. We're just showing you what we do. So I'm going to read our scripture of the day, and it is, "The Lord is trustworthy in all he promises and faithful in all he does." And that's found in Psalm 145, verse 13. I don't know the Bible.
Translation
The
version.
translation version, but I thought it was very well worded the way it is. The Lord is trustworthy in all he promises and faithful in all he does. I don't have a time when I haven't thought that God was trustworthy or that his promises wouldn't come true. Ever since I was a little girl, I've always had this sense that God is always there for me. And always, if he didn't do what I wanted, he did something better. And, he's always surprising me with the things that he's been doing. This last Sunday, and I'm just going to tell you this story. My husband's in the other room. He can confirm it if he wants to. But we were at church, and the pastor had a day off, and so one of the congregation gave the sermon, and it was so neat. And he did such a good job. And what he talked about was life groups, which is smaller groups within a church that meet at houses or restaurants or whatever to talk about life, just talk about the Bible and talk about life and share life together. And my husband was like, I don't want to sign up for that. And it was the last day to sign up. And and he's been saying that for 3 years, and I'm just like, okay, if that's not what you want, then that's what I said prior to this. But that day, Sunday, I was just like, this church isn't like our last church, and it's, they've done nothing to hurt us. And I think we should just trust that maybe this is something we should do, to meet people and to figure out, what we're supposed to do. And but I said this when one of the songs was starting again, and I just let it go. I just let it go after that, and I just trusted in the Lord, and we sang the song, and it was really good, and the rest of the service was really, really good, and it ended really well. And at the end, we had time to meet with 2 of the singers that were sitting right in front of us, and talk with them a little bit. And right after that, we were going to walk out of the sanctuary, and my husband says, yeah, okay, we can sign up for life groups. And I was just like, okay. And he actually put our names down on the paper. He had me put my email address, but he wrote our names down, and I was just like, Lord, you are so good. And so I was really happy with that. We have not heard back. Maybe I should check my email, I guess. But it is a thing that God does. He just is so trustworthy, and he keeps his promises, and there's not been a time that I haven't been surprised with how he handles things, or even if it's not, if it's something that I want or whatever, and if it doesn't happen the way I think it's gonna happen, it always happens better. So anyway, what do you think?
The Lord is trustworthy in all that he promises and faithful in all he does. I've always had this image of this character that is God, in which this is a version of, obviously, his character that is it's a standard, right? Like, he has a lot of integrity in his character. He says it, it's done. And it's all dependent, right, on how we receive it sometimes, as to be able to understand how that came through or came to happen. But it's just one of those things where, like, I just still haven't gotten over how, like, like the words of like this, of like when I was growing up, learning to be trustworthy, learning to be faithful, and how that impacted me to be able to gain those characteristics in myself, and the discipline that would require. Then to just be like, okay, well, you can rely on God to do that for you as well. And being like, he's faithful, he's trustworthy. He doesn't say something he doesn't mean. He has integrity in his character, and that is something that doesn't change. And it's like, if he says it, it matters to him.
Right.
If he says it, then it's true. If he says it, then it's absolute. And we might not know how it comes around or back towards us, but to know that is how, or how he intends it to be, what is going to happen, how that's going to look, it's just it means a lot. And I sometimes have to just, it resonates with me to be like, God's faithful, God's trustworthy, God holds integrity as a...
I'll be right back. You keep going.
This is something that he just has no... I'm not trying to stumble over my words, so I hope you forgive me, but it's just one of those, like, it's almost like an experience. You all of a sudden come to some sort of either epiphany or recognition in your life, and the ways that he has done this, and the way that he has been consistent and he's always been reliable. He's always done what he has said to do. He's always, whenever he sets something in motion, it has always come to fruition. And just how he prepares and is never surprised and knows how he would like things to work out. And just, he's trustworthy in what he has set forth. He is faithful to accomplish it. And he doesn't just betray you. Like, he's very loyal.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
Yes.
Like, there's such a level of, like, when he says it, he is so loyal that you feel that.
Yeah.
You almost feel it as if it's its own presence. Like I said, I feel like this is like a representation of his character, not just his deeds.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the difference, is like he's so loyal that he is trustworthy, he is faithful. Like I feel like those are descriptions to what he is.
Yes.
And
Yes.
when you experience him, you experience these things, and it feels almost like an overwhelming presence. And in my life, I've had people lie to me, and have had people betray me, and have had people hurt me with their lack of reality to how much their words held so much power in my life, and how I was holding on to them, and they were like my last thing that I was holding on to. Just to realize that, like, when it comes to God and what he has set in motion,
Yeah.
I don't have to necessarily have those concerns. Do I still? Sometimes, but I have references of times that numerous times I didn't know how it was going to happen, but it did still happen. Yeah. Or revelations of his loyalty and his faithfulness and his trustworthiness and his integrity. Yeah. And I am very grateful to know that he is faithful, he is trustworthy, and when he sets something out to do it, it doesn't, how's that verse go? It does not come back incomplete.
Yeah. It will not come back void.
Yeah. So
yeah. It will be completed, whatever he says.
The Lord is trustworthy in all that he promises and faithful in all that he does. Psalms 145, verse 13.
Yes.
We hope that you had a good time spending some time with us and fellowshipping and maybe partaking in some ideas. Yes. I'm really starting to get to the point where we keep talking about this Pinterest stuff, that we keep reviving different ideas or really pulling us down different roads of creativity, that I want to make a tag.
We should.
Called Pinterest Made Me Do It.
Yeah. No. How about we figure out some questions and we'll just do that then?
We'll do that next week.
Yeah. Okay, this is what you got to look forward to.
Yeah, like, I don't know, the last couple of them, I just keep hearing us saying over and over again, Pinterest made me do it, Pinterest made me do it, Pinterest made me do it, and it's like, I want to create, like, some sort of a tag where it's just like, Pinterest made me do it.
Yep. That's a good one. We should do that.
So, expect that next week. And obvious as always with any tag that we do, whether we've made it or whether it's something that someone else has made, all the questions will be down below next week. Even if you want, over this next week, if you have any suggestions of things that Pinterest has made you do that we can put in the questionnaire, where it's like just kind of, we all kind of think about the fact that this is just the reality of being us and being a crafter. Mm-hmm. Pinterest is like crack cocaine.
Yes.
It's just the kryptonite. So we love you guys. We hope that you guys have a good rest of your week, and whether we have piqued your interest on some things or whether we were just good company, we're grateful that you've made it to the end of the video. Yes. And as always, we love you. We hope that you guys have a good rest of your week. And until we see you again, we hope that you stitch your way
to mental health.